last section of chapter 10, 10.3, basic Windows installation. Great news though, you've already done installing Windows on your virtual machines. We're going to learn some different terms that go along with this. So starting with, oh, you're good. Different accounts. Now you've noticed probably just from being alive and using computers that when you log into a computer, you just sign in once. And then you can use Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome. You go and open up File Explorer. You don't have to, oh, I open up Microsoft Edge. It wants me to log in with my username and password. Oh, I want Chrome now. I have to log in now. It uses something called SSO, single sign-on. So you just sign on once to the computer, to the device, to the operating system, and you can access everything that you are supposed to have access to. That's single sign-on. Now, there's two generic types of accounts. You have an administrator account and a standard user account. An administrator account, you're going to be able to do anything globally, right? With any of the users' accounts, etc. You're the administrator. You're in charge. You can make any configuration changes. Now, these various things and changes we'll learn more about in Chapter 11 is UAC, User Account Control. So an administrator account is already going to have that elevated privilege. It's not going to warn us often with that UAC. A standard user account, that's your typical user. They don't have global rights to everything. They're going to have the rights to their own things. They will just have the ability to run various applications, to save things. They're not going to be able to install programs. They can't change system level settings, etc. Only settings that affect that user. Does the overall difference between administrator and standard make sense to everyone? Yes. Awesome. Now, if you are an administrator, you're going to have a standard user account. Let's say that Bernie is an administrator. He's going to have his user account, Bernie, and then when he needs to do something administrative, he's just going to temporarily log into that administrator account. He's not going to just log into his administrator account for the day, so he can do administrative tasks and then search Facebook and YouTube and his civilian email, etc. Because that's opening up. If something happens on that account, well, guess what privileges they have? Administrator level access, right? So you only want to log in to administrator level when you're doing that specific task, and then back to the standard user. Easy day? Serena?
So, administrator account can
do anything.
Do anything like,
some applications cannot be run without.
Things that we're going to learn about in Chapter 11. Good? All right, updating Windows. After you've already installed Windows, you're going to have to periodically update. Windows checks for these updates using something called, if we scroll up, I believe it's Windows Update is what it calls it. Microsoft Windows Update. That's what it uses to scan to see if there's any service packs for other software, updates, patches, etc. that need to be installed for your device, for your computer. And here we can see this in our overall settings. It's the first thing. And it's checking for updates. If there's no updates, it'll let you know there's no updates. If there are, you can update it. You can change your active hours here. So that way it's only updating or automatically updating when you're not using your computer during work hours. Or maybe it's your personal computer, so you want it to update during work hours while you're on your work computer. You can see the update history of previous updates that were done and other things. Questions? All right. What is the piece of software that allows various pieces of hardware to talk to the operating system, to the software? Driver, that's our translator, right? Where do we see where our drivers are? Device manager, right? Because there's a driver for each device. These device drivers. So we go to device manager. Now there's an overarching place or a larger place we can go, which is computer management as well. We can go to computer management, and then we could go to device manager. Here we can update our drivers. If we download it from the manufacturer's website, I could roll back a driver. What's rolling back a driver? Going back to a previous version, right? Let's say you update the driver on your keyboard. It worked yesterday. You update the driver. Now it's not working. Well, you may need to roll back to that previous driver that did work. You can uninstall drivers. You can disable devices here, etc. Questions? Good? Okay, moving on. And moving on some more. All right, custom installation options. Has anyone seen the documentary Star Wars?
No.
It's a documentary. It's just a really old documentary from a long time ago, in a really faraway place. Not a documentary. All right. In Star Wars, there's clones, or we can understand the idea of a clone, right? It's an exact copy of something. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, you don't want to go through all the effort of creating another human and training it, learning it to walk, etc. So we can clone our drives. Why would we want to do that? Well, think about us installing our operating systems. That has taken a significant amount of time for one computer, for one operating system. Imagine doing that at Shatsov's computer, and then going to Burnett's computer, and then Watkins' computer. It would take you a long, long time. And as an IT, we're lazy. We want to eat chips and get fat. So we want to make things easier for us. So what we can do is we can do an installation on one computer and then go through all of the steps, and then we can clone that hard drive. And then what that will do is go by sector by sector. We've already successfully installed the operating system. So we copy that hard drive sector by sector, and we can place that hard drive. We make a clone or an image of it, an exact copy, install that into a different computer, and it's sector by sector. It's been the same. It's already going to have that operating system installed on it. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? Yes. So imagine, right, if you take a picture of yourself 2 years ago, you weren't in the Navy. But imagine you could go, nope, I'm thinking of something else now. Cloning. Does that make sense? Yes. I started to get off track talking about images. All right, so now we've created this clone. We can put it in other computers. If there's an issue with that, you've got a tool called SysPrep. So if we scroll up a little bit, we'll see that this Microsoft's System Preparation Tool, or SysPrep for short, that's what we can use if there's some error during the installation of this clone that we've created through this image. So we can install and configure these cloned images using SysPrep. In Windows 10, we'll go to Windows Explorer, and we go to the C drive, Windows System 32 SysPrep, or in our search bar or in the run box, we can type in SysPrep, and it'll open it up, and this is what it looks like here. SysPrep here prepares a machine for hardware independence and cleanup. So we can reboot the computer, we can put our different image clones on here as well. So the SysPrep tool is what it's going to allow us to utilize the clones from that Star Wars documentary. Moving on. There are other ways we can install an operating system. Now, back in my day, a lot of times it would just come on a CD, compact disc, or a USB. Nowadays, how almost all of it is done is over something called the internet or a network, right? You'll just download it from Microsoft to your computer, and it'll go, which is a great way. And if you're connected to a network like we are here as well, the network administrators can send over the network the updates as well for the operating systems. We can do an image-based. Now, your Windows image, have we talked about hidden files on a computer yet? No. I'm thinking of a different class. So we're going to learn about hidden files and folders soon, but some things on your computer are hidden from you. Even you buy a brand new computer, you log in, you open up File Explorer, see what's there. There's some things that are hidden from you. Why do you think, by default, the operating system is hiding things from you? What's that? Sailor proofing, or what were we? Security, right? You wouldn't want to accidentally delete files that are necessary for your operating system, right? User, you're like, I didn't make, what's that? I don't need that. You delete it, and oh, it's gone. So it's just better. Users don't even see that it's there, so less likely to make mistakes. Good to go? So that's hidden. And we'll see that in later chapters, how we can actually hide these on our own, how we can view them in both command line interface and GUI. That's coming up in chapter 11. So anyway, your image on your computer, your Windows image, that's your operating system. Usually that's going to be hidden. It's a snapshot of your OS. And we can use that to restore our computer to its original state. You boot up your computer, first time, turn it on, it's going to create an image or like a picture of your computer at that time. And then it's going to hide that. So if there's any issue, you can go back to that picture. Imagine you take a picture, a selfie, 2 years ago, before you joined the Navy. You joined the Navy, it's great. Boot camp, you come here, done, never mind, I made it. It's great. Or maybe you get here or you go to your ship and, I made a mistake. You can't go back. But imagine if you could and you had that image of yourself, that picture, and you could go back in time and look as youthful as Mr. Novak, or probably yourself that was 2 years ago. Does that make sense? So that's what that image is going to allow you to do. It's a snapshot of all of the data at that point in time that the computer can be restored from. That's going to be hidden.
So it's kind of like a backup, basically.
There you go, backup. Good? Other ways we can install, we're going to talk about these in just a second, but advanced startup options, refresh your PC with this for Windows 8 only, system restore, upgrade, network installation, recovery partition. That's what we're going to talk about next. We need more time to write? All right. It was the right answer. You got the VM? You could break your VM. You could delete sys32.
Take a snapshot.
And then you're just going to delete that VM? Oh, snapshot, yeah. We haven't gotten into yet.
Format C. That old joke.
I'd tell you a UDP joke, but I'm afraid you wouldn't get it. What other jokes we got? When does a dad joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. Pity laughs. Okay. How do you tell the gender of an ant? Put it in water. Yeah, if it sinks, it's a girl ant. If it floats, it's a boy ant. I told you that 2 days ago? Oh, did he? All right, anyone need more time? Garner, yeah?
I'll tell you.
Shots off more time? Good. Cerna? 10. Good? Okay. All right, let's scroll down. We got some more. All right. If you want to be able to remotely install something, you're going to use a software package called RIS, Remote Installation Services. What that's going to do is communicate over the network to the client so that way it can do these remote installations, this unattended where you're not physically there. Now to do this over the network, your NIC, which allows you to connect to the network, has to have something enabled that allows this fairy magic to happen. And that thing is called PXE, or PXE, Pre-Boot Executable Environment. So before, let's say you got this computer, needs to install an installation. We're going to do it over the network. Well, before it's booted up, we want to put it into an environment. So that PXE allows over the network to send packets to the computer. So a pre-boot execution environment. So that way, unattended, nobody's physically here. An IT remote over there, over the network, can install it remotely. PXE, pre-boot execution environment. So that NIC, that network interface card, has to be PXE enabled. What that'll do is, that way that packet can be sent over the network to the NIC, and then that NIC will then be able to put other things within the computer to allow that installation to occur. Cerna.
So is the NIC performing the installation, or is the
It's not. It just has to be enabled so that way the NIC can communicate to the computer to, hey, wake up and do this.
Okay.
So here we can see this image of what would be displayed on a computer if somebody wasn't there and this unattended network installation was occurring. And of course, our NIC has to be enabled for what? For PXE, PXE, pre-boot execution environment. So if you want to be able to do something, but you're not over there. It can't just happen all on its own. Something has to happen that's going to be able to trigger it. So the NIC with PXE, the pre-boot execution environment, an IT in a different room, in a different building, on a different network can send a packet. The NIC will then wake it up and say, oh, hey, put us in this environment so that way we can boot up. Does that work, or did I just say the same thing again?
No, that works.
That works, okay. Anybody else? Okay, good questions. Let's continue. So these unattended network installations. Huya? Now, when you loaded your operating systems, you had to answer some questions, such as what language? And what did you choose? English. Time zone, etc. You saw all these questions you had to answer, right?
Yes.
Now, if you're going to not be there, unattended, who's going to answer all those questions? Well, that's a great question. What is going to answer those questions is what's called an answer file. In that file, it's going to have the answers to all the questions that are asked. So when there's no human there, it's unattended. Hey, what language do you want? Nothing happens. So instead, this answer file can exist and be like, oh, when it asks for the language, boom, English. And it's going to be able to do it faster than you as a human sitting there is going to be able to do. So that's our answer file for our unattended. That's going to allow us to do that. Now also, we have SIM, the System Image Manager. To customize our Windows 10 installation, we would use SIM, that System Image Manager. Remember that image is that snapshot of the system. What's managing that? The System Image Manager. Thompson. Thomas, sorry.
So how does the answer, wait, what is it called again?
The answer file.
How does the answer file already know is it going default answers based off like previous?
An IT technician would create that answer file.
Oh, okay.
Good. Roberts.
Would that be an example of like machine learning?
No, that wouldn't be an example of machine learning. That would just be us. It's just a script automated. There's no learning happening. It's just, oh, when this question's asked, this is the answer. And then it doesn't change. It's just, anytime this is asked, this is the answer. So there's no learning occurring because it could be like, oh, what's the day of the week? Monday. What's the day of the week? The next day, Monday. So you'd have to change it, right?
Oh, okay. It's being manually.
Correct, because you're manually configuring that answer file.
All right.
But we'll get into environmental variables different, which are a little bit different.
User configuration.
User configuration.
So it's like continuously on default once you set it in, you just have to change it?
Bingo. So that way, you know how you had to sit here and you had to up English next, time zone next, where you wouldn't have to be here. It's like, oh, when this question's answered, you already know what your answer is going to be. All right, so this answer file. These answer files, remember how I said they're really fast? That's because the computer just follows a script. Now, we were talking about a documentary earlier. Spoiler alert, Star Wars is not a documentary. That was scripted. What does that mean? Well, you had Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and other people. They had a script, and at this point in time, do this, and say this. So we can create a script for a computer, which we'll learn about in Chapter 14, but the answer file is a script that says, oh, when asked this, do this. At this time, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. But unlike humans, that script is able to execute as fast as the CPU can handle those instructions. So it happens very, very fast. So that's a script. The computer will follow that script exactly and do those things. So that answer file is a script. Now, scripts are saved in what's called a batch file, which we'll learn about more in Chapter 14. But that ends with, that file extension is .bat for those scripts. So the answer file, that's a script or a batch. So we can run this unattended .bat, that's our answer file, on that hard drive, on that image, so we can run and install this operating system. Good to go? So here we have the Windows System Image Manager, or SIM, where we can configure all of this. Look at our images, create our answer files, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to dive too deep into this, but this is what that SIM looks like, System Image Manager on Microsoft. And time for a video. Oh, first question, Cerna.
I'm assuming the script has to be made by a human for the answer file to actually.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
prior to making that answer file, it has to be programmed by a human.
A human would create that answer file, which is a script. Good. Anything else? All right. Next video.
Hello everyone, we are here to talk about our system restore and our recovery in our Windows 10 operating system. To get started, let's go with system restore first. I can click on my start button. I'll go into my control panel. In my control panel, I'm going to head over to system and security. Inside of system and security, we'll go ahead and click on security and maintenance. When security and maintenance opens up, we're going to go ahead and click on recovery. The options I see here talk about creating a recovery drive to assist us, or using System Restore, or configuring System Restore itself. We're going to go ahead and click on Open System Restore. This is going to open up the System Restore application on my computer. Now, System Restore is a great tool, but it only helps us with our system files. This is not going to be able to back up and recover personal files and data on our machine. So I can go ahead and click Next, and I will be able to see a restore point if one has been created. These restore points are created for things such as Windows updates and critical fixes, as well as you can manually create them. I created this restore point myself, and I named it Restore 1. I would be able to select this and click Next, and once I click Finish, my system is going to be restored back to the original system files that were utilized on this exact time and date of this restore point. And again, System Restore will only restore system files, not your personal files. So I'm going to click Cancel and close out of this, and we're going to take a look now at the recovery options for our Windows 10 environment. If you want to take a look at the recovery options, the proper way to go about it is Start, Settings. Inside of Settings, we'll scroll down, and I'll click on Update and Security. In Update and Security, we're going to go to the left side of the screen, and we're going to click on Recovery. Inside of Recovery, we've got a couple different options that exist. One of the first things we want to talk about, though, is something called a recovery partition. Now, a recovery partition isn't listed here. A recovery partition is a special section of your hard disk that is really inaccessible to the user. This gives you an area to restore off of from when your original manufacturer made your machine and installed an operating system on it. A lot of times these recovery partitions will include some proprietary applications made by the vendor who created your computer. My system does not have a recovery partition, so we're going to look at some of the other options for our Windows 10 recovery. The option we're going to take a look at is called Reset This PC. If I click Get Started for Reset This PC, what we can see here is two options. Windows 10 can reset my PC and keep my files, or reset my PC and remove everything. Reset the PC is really reinstalling the Windows 10 operating system. Now, if I don't want to lose my personal data, I'll click the top option, Keep My Files. If I want a brand new experience where everything is gone, including my personal files, I would click Remove Everything. I want to keep my files, so I'll click on Keep My Files. It's going to take a quick look at my system. It's going to analyze the applications that are installed, as well as what we're about to do with this reset process. Right here it can tell us, you can reinstall some of the apps from the store, but we'll have to reinstall these following ones from the web or using the original install disks. That's these applications listed here. I can go ahead and click Next, and at this point it says we are ready to reset the PC. And using this reset process in our recovery area is going to remove all apps and programs, change the settings of my computer back to their defaults, and reinstall Windows without removing my personal files, which is my personal data. All I would do is click Reset, and the process would get started. Take your time and practice with the Windows System Restore and also Windows Recovery and become that IT professional.
What questions we got? No questions. All right. The next thing, recovery partition, which was talked about in that video, right? So when on our disk, we're going to have a recovery partition. This is going to be inaccessible to the user because we want to be able to recover. And we know that users aren't always make the best decisions or knowledgeable and be like, what's this? I don't need this. Remove it, mess with it, change things, etc. So you want this recovery partition, and in order to be able to recover, it not to be changed, modified, deleted, etc. So that's going to be hidden. Easy day? Now, you may have like factory reset, etc., and that's where that's coming in. And we can see this here, Windows RE tools, recovery tools. That's that partition right there. And did we see that in our virtual machines? That recovery partition? Should have been on the right. It should have been a small area. All right, next we have, there, right there. If you look up Windows RE tools, yours may have just said RE or Windows RE. All right, next we have upgrading methods if I want to be able to upgrade. So if you've got Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1 to Windows 10, the best way to upgrade is in place. That means using that current operating system to upgrade to the newer operating system. This can be done in the System Center Configuration Manager. We can use an automation process to automate it as well. There's going to be wizards as well. This Windows installation is going to be a setup.exe. exe is an executable. Have we talked about executables yet? No. No. Okay. So think about execution. That's not a good thing, right? You wouldn't want just anybody to be able to execute anybody. In fact, that's illegal, right? So what programs should be allowed to execute? But in this situation, execute means it can delete, it can add, it can change, it can modify overarching system preferences. So this setup.exe, of course that's an executable. That's a high-level privilege a file extension that would allow the operating system to boot, because of course it needs to be able to change all of these system files because it is the entire system that's changing. So if you're downloading some random stuff off the internet and you see .exe, you should think a little bit about, okay, what am I doing? Oh, if I'm installing an application, it makes sense that that's an executable. But if you're downloading a movie and it's got .exe in it, it's probably a virus, right? Okay, so when upgrading Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, we're going to use setup.exe. We're going to do this in place, meaning we're going to preserve all of the user data. All of the settings on that computer are going to be preserved. They're left in place. They're not going to change. This saves a lot of time because then you don't have to use those tools we talked about earlier, like USMT, PC Mover Express, to move that user data over. Now, before you do this, of course, you should back up the data so that way it's not left out. Good? Okay. A clean install. We've already talked about clean installs. When do we want to do clean installs? Malware, viruses. What else? There were three we talked about.
When computers pass off from
One employee to another employee when it changes hands. What else? Primary hard drive gets corrupt. Jackson, you want to finish this off? What's the last one? When the OS is corrupt. We remember that?
Yep.
All right. So those are when we want to do a clean install. Clean install. It's going to wipe everything completely. Nothing's going to be left over, kind of. And then you'll re-download it. Easy day? Here we can see this upgrade task sequence editor that will allow us to do that. Let's see what we know. What is a set of tools that allow users to troubleshoot, recover, or restore an operating system when it cannot boot? I'm hearing some different options. Skip it for now? Advanced startup options, you say? Okay. What about a program used to prepare the OS with different hardware configurations to install and configure the same OS on multiple computers? Sysprep. A special environment used to boot the computer, connect to the network, and communicate with the server to begin PXE, which stands for Pre-boot executable environment. A file that contains all the data from a partition. Image. Restores the computer system software back to its factory state without deleting user files or removing modern apps. Refresh your PC? Okay. This contains an image that can be used to restore the computer to its original configuration. Recovery partition. And a software package used to communicate with the client and provide the necessary instructions for the client to download operating system setup files and begin installation. I couldn't hear you. That wasn't very confident. What is it? RIS. Questions, comments, concerns on that? Okay, we doing good?